Well, sir, you've certainly vanquished all your enemies, the elementary school, the local tavern, the old age home. You must be very proud.
No, not while my greatest nemesis still provides our customers with free light, heat, and energy. I call this enemy the sun. Since the beginning of time, man has yearned to destroy the sun. I will do the next best thing. Block it out.
Good God!
Imagine it, Smithers. Electrical lights and heaters running all day long.
But, sir, every plant and tree will die. Owls will deafen us with incessant hooting. The town sundial will be useless. I don't want any part of this project. It's unconscionably fiendish.
I will not suffer your insubordination. There has been a shocking decline in the quality and quantity of your toadying, Whalen, and you will fall into line. Now!
No. No, Monty, I won't. Not until you step back from the brink of insanity.
I'll do no such thing. You're fired. Take that, Boulderama. Take that, Convenient Smart. Take that, nuclear power plant. Oh, fiddlesticks.
The record number of fires burning across Brazil's Amazon rainforest has prompted renewed global outcry over climate change. And big spending. $5 million from Leonardo DiCaprio, £10 million from the UK. Meanwhile, Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
You and I have talked before, and I know that you've explored this for a long time, which is geoengineering, and especially solar engineering, where you essentially build artificial volcanoes, to put it simply, and put particles in the sky to cool things down. You've been a supporter of this for a while, in research of this. It's gaining momentum in the sort of scientific establishment. National Academy of Sciences is doing a study now. The IPCC has been talking about it. What have you learned about it in your research on this? And are you feeling more like we're inevitably heading in this direction?
Well, no. Most aspects of climate, like there was a re-examination of the temperature data because people said that East Anglia had played with the numbers. So I funded the Koch brothers, and I funded Mueller to go back through and do it from scratch. And he said no bias, no. So I fund a lot of things, anything that looks promising climate. So saying I support it, that in the sense that yes, I provide money so that we can look into it. Yes. In terms of, is it a technique that we understand enough about its overall weather effects, and wouldn't it be better just to get rid of the emissions and not have to put this in place? I don't support it because there's so little we know about it, and of course, governments would have to decide. If things got really bad and people in the equator can't grow food and hundreds of millions are migrating, the world will look for some way of delaying the heating and having some notion whether these various either brightening cloud tops or particles in the stratosphere, even if it's just to disprove that it's not a good thing, I don't believe in making it a verboten topic. And right. Governments really ought to dig into it and fund some activities around it so that they, if the time ever came where it was an emergency, they could consider whether to use it or not to use it not in a completely naive way. But I right. only gave it one page in the book because it is fair to say that if people think there's some panacea thing, like, a heart operation, bariatric surgery, then maybe they just keep eating. And that is not the way to go on this one.
Right.
Oh, those wheels are squeaking a bit. Perhaps I could sell him a little oil.
You twisted old monster!
I've decided to protect myself ever since I was attacked in my office by an unidentified assailant.
Don't! Arr! Burn, lads, your scurvy schemes will earn ye a one-way passage to the boneyard.
I'd like to hear from Sideshow Mel.
I'll see to it that Mr. Burns suffers the infernal machinations of hell's grim tyrant.
Yeah.
Oh, you all talk big. But who here has the guts to stop me? Very well. One last question. Have you ever seen the sun set at 3 p.m.?
Aye, once, when I was sailing round the Arctic...
Shut up, you! Take one last look at the sun, Springfield.
Hey, hey! I've been in Reno for 6 weeks. Did I miss anything?
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Bill.
Hello, Mr. Gates.
You don't know us.
But we know you. You've done more for mankind
than most can ever dream of.
Touching countless lives.
Donating billions. To make a real difference in the world.
But now, Bill,
We need you.
we need you.
We need you. We need you to lead us.
In another fight.
The fight against
Climate change.
It's the 21st century's biggest risk to the Earth's poorest nations.
You said that, Bill.
And we agree.
But the Gates Foundation...
Invest in fossil fuel exploration.
In companies that continue to look for more coal, oil, and gas.
Fossil fuels we can't afford to burn.
Here's how you can help us, Bill.
Help us by no longer supporting
These energy companies.
By divesting your interests in fossil fuels.
Withdraw this funding.
and the planet will profit.
Keep leading the fight against climate change.
Keep protecting the earth.
And its people.
And Bill. Bill.
We're asking you.
We're asking you.
Please.
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 Keep it in the ground.
Keep it in the ground. Keep it in the ground.
I've got some exciting news to share with you. 12 new cloud types have just been added to the International Cloud Atlas, the first update to the Atlas in 31 years. You may have some questions. Where were these clouds hiding for the past 3 decades? There's a cloud atlas. Have I seen any of these before? Well, first of all, the International Cloud Atlas is actually a globally recognized source for meteorologists. First created in 1896, it has been a resource of cloud types and photos that has helped train scientists and sky watchers for decades. But since the advent of smartphones, we have a whole new perspective on the sky, and that's really what led to the recent update. Many of the new ads can be attributed to citizen scientists who share and discuss clouds by uploading photos to the Atlas's site. So, about the new clouds. Well, they involve clouds on all height levels and classifications, including rainbow clouds, roll clouds, and wall clouds, as us meteorologists have been unofficially calling some of these. The Latin names themselves are pretty cool. And speaking of cool, my favorite new ads? Let me start you off with the beautifully named Asperatus undulatus. Often seen in Canadian skies, they almost look like you're viewing waves from underneath the water surface. There's still a lot to learn about these guys. They likely form in sinking, moisture-laden air with shear winds. Next up, cavum, or hole punch clouds as I know them, caused when ice crystals are introduced into a thin cloud layer of supercooled water droplets, usually from an aircraft during takeoff or landing. The water droplets all rush to freeze in on those ice crystals, creating a vacuum in the sky. I had to add these ones for the conspiracy emails I often get. Yes, these are contrails, or homogeneous, clouds caused by human activities. In this case, when water vapor condenses and freezes around small particles that exist in aircraft exhaust. Lastly, I wanted to show you this one, Flammagenitus, a scene we saw a lot during the devastating Fort McMurray fires, pyrocumulus clouds actually created by the rising heat of the fire itself. Now, I could go on, but you can actually check out all 12 yourself because 2017 is also the first year that the renowned Cloud Atlas will be published entirely online. So whether you were already a member of the International Cloud Appreciation Society, yes, that's also a thing, or you're just like looking up once in a while, take a moment to consider clouds, and you may end up with a greater appreciation for our atmosphere.
After all these years, things are finally starting to go my way. I feel like celebrating. Oh, it's you. What are you so happy about? I see. I think you'd better drop it. I said drop it. Get your hands off.
Where is everybody?
Hey, man, are you okay?
Won't dignify that with response.
Mr. Burns has been shot.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
Perhaps the greatest lie ever perpetrated on populations all over the world is the condensation trail lie. What we're seeing in our skies is not condensation. It's sprayed particulate dispersions with very few exceptions.
They shouldn't be there. Jet engines burn clean. So if there's anything coming out of them, it's an additive.
They're absolutely not contrails. Contrails do not linger, dissipate, and go into cloud coverage, period, in the report.
And I kept saying to people, what is this? Because now the sky is no longer blue, it's starting to turn gray. And what I found was kind of like it was not socially acceptable. We're all going to pretend this is not really happening. And I thought, oh, this is very bad.
Most are unfamiliar with a science term called global dimming. That term refers to the amount of direct sunlight that no longer reaches the surface of the planet due to light scattering particles that are building up in the atmosphere. And although many of these particles are from industrialized pollution, the larger majority are from the ongoing climate engineering solar radiation management operations. This engine, a high bypass turbofan jet engine, this is the engine that is on all military tankers and all commercial carriers, is in essence a jet-powered fan. 90% of the air that moves through this engine is non-combusted. This engine by design is nearly incapable of producing any condensation trail except under rare and extreme circumstances. And again, we have film footage of aircraft flying at altitude with nozzles visible, turning on and off. That is the end of the argument.
Bloomfield, Michigan, 1942. As World War II rages across several continents, acclaimed architect and eventual designer of the St. Louis Arch, Eero Saarinen, is secretly enlisted by the United States military to work for a new clandestine organization. Its name? The OSS, Office of Strategic Services, or as it is known today, the CIA.
The fact that Eero Saarinen was in the OSS designing weapon systems during World War II, and at a time when the OSS was looking into ways to weaponize weather, makes his whole connection to the design of the St. Louis Arch extremely interesting. Now, that isn't to say I believe it can control the weather, but it does open the door to the idea that it might have been one of the things Saarinen was out to achieve.
While at the OSS, Saarinen designed buildings and weapon systems, many of which were never completed or built. Is it possible He later used these secret plans to engineer the St. Louis Arch, creating something that can actually control or perhaps harness the weather.
Controlling the weather is the ultimate superweapon. It's even more powerful than the atomic bomb. So if Eero Saarinen was involved in analyzing and studying the possibility of weather modification, and you put all those factors together, and I think you have a guy that basically conducted a big, giant weather modification experiment with the St. Louis Arch.
Weather as a weapon? There are some who think the idea is not as preposterous as it seems, especially when considering that even today, many world governments are pouring millions of dollars into research designed to manipulate weather.
I think weather modification has definitely been an ongoing endeavor of governments all over the world for decades. St. Louis Arch appears to be an experiment in weather modification. The HAARP device appears to be an experiment in weather modification. Who knows what the Russians or the Chinese are doing? There's some sort of technology out there.
There's been lots of work in the field of weather control, using silver iodide inside of thunderstorms to decrease the size of hail. That goes on in many parts of the world to alleviate that problem. They're always firing rockets into the atmosphere in China to manipulate the weather. But is this a good idea?
You wonder if you could steer a tornado. What would it take? Even a nuclear weapon might just nudge it, if even that.
One challenge with that is your shock wave is going to be hard to focus, perhaps, and it might cause the damage you were hoping to avoid with the tornado. I would be looking at how much can I control or change local pressures in the atmosphere near and around the tornado.
These are forces at work that could wipe out major cities. And we're finding out every day new things that we've never seen before. So maybe the lesson learned here is we shouldn't meddle with forces that we don't really understand, because we may not like the result.
When criminals in this world appear and break the laws that they should fear and frighten all who see or hear, the cry goes up both far and near for underdog. 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 Speed of lightning, roar of thunder, fighting all who love or plunder. Underdog.
Simon Bar Sinister, with Sweet Polly in his clutches, had landed on the moon. And now he was threatening to use his monstrous weather machine against the Earth.
I warn you that unless you do just as I ask, I shall cause weather which will wipe you out.
You're only trying to frighten us, Simon Bar Sinister. We don't believe in your machine.
No? Then allow me to demonstrate for you. Simon says, rain.
He really did it.
Where will
we
drown it?
Oh, look,
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.